Today we're going back to the basics because we would like to talk a little bit about calendars and tutor schedules and tips and tricks and a little bit of troubleshooting. First of all, I would like to show you where this is located. We are right now talking about the administration, control panel, general module. This is where you can find the main settings for the calendar, and you need to leave it at the school scope. And then you click view setting, and this is what you see from the presentation. And I would like to start with the very basics so you can understand why everything fits together like a glove. And the first thing that you need to notice, and you can see some arrows there, is that this is a really important part of the configuration process, just because depending on these settings that you set here, everything else is going to be fitting together like a puzzle, okay? Like, for example, if you see there, the second option, that drop-down list, is the size of the little blocks that fits the schedule for those tutors. The options right now are half an hour and 15 minutes. And if you notice on the right, I have put a schedule for one of the tutors. And if you notice, in this case, it's 30 minutes. That is why you see that the blocks are from 8 to 8:30, 8:30 to 9, and so on and so forth. And why this is really important, because if you want to offer 15-minute blocks or 45-minute blocks or 1 hour, 15-minute blocks or things like that, then you would need to pick the smaller size. And actually, the smaller size would be your main preference uh, because it's going to give you a lot more flexibility, right? So if you have a 30-minute block, it's going to be less flexible than if you have smaller size. And remember that this setting is going to be applicable to the entire school and every one of the centers. So in order to be a lot more flexible, if you want to grant them that flexibility to your centers and to the different activities that you run at your school, then you should think about picking the smaller size. The start and the end time is really important too, because remember that you will need to pick the earliest time that any given center can start their activities by using schedule, and you see the latest time. And why is that? Because if you pick, for example, right there, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m., and some of the centers, they do really late activities, then they will not be able to use the schedule because this is going to prevent them to do that. And another that is really important setting, and sometimes is overlooked, is the maximum number of attendees. If you notice right there in this example, there is three maximum numbers of attendees, and this is really important because if in your centers you most of the times are going to be doing one-on-one or whatever that size is, then you need to put it here, and this is what's going to be in the as a default. Typically, when the tutor do the schedule, they will bypass quickly through the settings. So if you put one-on-one or whatever you put in there, is going to be probably what's going to stay. And actually, as you can see on the right for this image, whatever you put as a default is going to be rolled over to the tutor's default schedule. So another thing that I wanted to share here is the center off times and why this is really important. The first picture you see on the left is the school scope for off times. So if you notice right there, you see that those blocks in solid blue. That is because you can determine off times by using term mode and merge mode, meaning from Monday to Sunday, and then on specific dates. And why this is important, because right now, for example, let's say that you don't do any activities in any of your centers on Sundays. Then it's going to be really easy to go to the center off times. By the way, that is in administration off times. And then you can declare to the whole school that this is going to be out of limits, like in these the Sundays, like I have in my account. And the ones that you see with the scratches is because you can also do off times based on specific dates. And actually, and on the right is the center scope. So as you can see, this main setting for the school scope is going to be transferred to the center. That is why, if you notice in this center, the one in the top and the one in the bottom, they have this gray area, and that is why, because they are inheriting this off time from the main campus. And they can also set off times. And actually, it is really peculiar that I have seen this heavily in use lately when, for example, there is a hurricane or there is a tornado, things like that, and sometimes the school is going to be out of working normally, then this is a really easy way to come here, declare that day, let's say that week, as off time, and then that is going to lead you to cancel the appointment, and everybody is going to be off limits, so nobody will be able to schedule appointments, and everybody will get a cancellation information and things like that. So it's going to be a lot more easy if you come here and you declare that as an off time than if you go to the appointment list and you go one by one and you cancel those appointments and so on and so forth. So this is a really convenient way to do that. The other thing that I wanted to show you is the actual tutor schedule. So the same way as I was saying that this fits like a glove, like a puzzle, then if you notice, the tutor schedule is going to be inheriting the school scope off times and the center off time too. If you notice right there, I'm in the center Y. That is one of my test centers. So the tutor right there, you see how it has, there are some pieces there in gray, and that is because the Sunday is off at the school scope, while the Saturday 29th was off at the center scope. And that is how it's going to be, everything is going to be fitting together. Well, if you notice, he's going to be, for example, in that center Y, there are some green blocks, and that means that he's going to be working in the term mode. So every Tuesday from 9 to 10, he's going to be working at that center, while the reddish block is because he's going to be working at another center. So it's going to be really easy for you to determine what is taking place at the school and why some things are out of limit, like these blocks where you cannot schedule because it's being configured as an off time. And I would like to show you then something else that is really important, and we have seen a lot of tickets coming throughout the year because of this. And remember that when you're building the tutor schedule, the first thing or the most important thing that you need to do is to put the availability depending on where the tutor is going to be helping, but also what exactly the tutor is going to be helping with. And that is so important. And what you see in that square in red is going to be determined by several factors. And sometimes this is overlooked, and that is why sometimes the students won't have access to a certain block of the day, and they say, why my students cannot pick any block with certain tutors on a certain date. And the reasoning for that is that these, you see, for the subject areas and the services, one, you're going to see subject areas and services depending on what you set up at the center. So the one on the right, for example, if you notice, there is no services there. And the reasoning for that, maybe you can say, well, where's the services here? Well, the reason for that is that for that center, services is not required. So if you don't require the service to be picked by the student, then that means that the tutor will not be able to use that as a filter, right? That is why for that center, only the subject areas are going to be, for the tutor to pick. And in this case, he has 7 courses. And in that specific case, he's going to be working with the 7 courses. So the one on the left, if you notice, there is subject areas and services. And the reasoning for that is that both the subject area or courses and the services are both required for the appointment when you are scheduling the appointment. And that is why it shows here. And that is why the tutor can pick. In that case, for example, he can work with 8 courses, and he's going to be working for all 8, and the services for the center. And by the way, that number that you see there next to the services, that is depending on the center, not on the tutor. So if the center, let's say that they provide 5 services, then the tutor could pick that he's going to be working, or she's going to be working with service X, service Y, service C, and not another service. And that is why it's so powerful, and you have so much flexibility with the schedule, because out of the global setting, you can pick a portion, like the tutor is going to be doing specific things on specific dates, right? And why some of the, by the way, why some of the subject areas might not show here. This is really important because sometimes when the tutor is doing the schedule, they say, why I don't see some courses. I have to tell you, first, the subject area, they have to be linked with the tutor. So the tutor must be able to assist with that specific subject area. And number 2, the subject area has to be available for that center, or the subject area has to be declared as available for all centers. So those two things must happen. One, that the tutor is able to assist with that subject area, math, physics, chemistry, and two, that either the subject area is linked to that center, so math can be taught on center X, or math has been declared as available for all centers, so it's going to be shown for all centers at the school. That is why, I mean, that is how it shows there to be able to be picked by the tutor. And now the last thing that I wanted to show you is a really powerful tool that sometimes people don't use that often, and it's really powerful. If you go to your center attendance, well, you need to be an administrator for this. If you go to the center attendance tutor schedule, and let's say that I'm picking my own schedule right here, you could clone or copy my schedule to another tutor or to another list of tutors. And this is really powerful because there are going to be times where some tutors are going to be doing pretty much the same or very similar type of work. Let's say that, for example, I want to copy, oh, and by the way, you have the copy right here in the top right corner. If you click that, you'll be able to see that you can copy this to everybody, which is typically not used because, I mean, not all the tutors are going to be doing the same, but you could do it if you wanted to, or you can select specific tutors to copy this over. Let's say that I am going to be doing something similar or pretty much the same than Julia Clark, for example. Then you will be able to select Julia Clark, and then if you click, you select it, then that schedule is going to be transferred over to Julia. And it doesn't have to be exactly the same schedule. Even if Julia, let's say that she's going to be helping with something else, it's a lot faster to add my schedule to her and then go to her schedule and do some little changes here and there than starting from scratch. So this is really powerful, and you could consider using it if you have that type of behavior where you have several tutors that are doing the same or things like that. So yeah, this is basically what I wanted to show you, how the calendar configuration affects the rest of the other operations like the tutor schedule, and how you can troubleshoot when you don't see specific services or courses showing to be able to pick it. And also when the students are creating their appointments and they don't get to see any block available, that is probably because one, the tutor scheduled for a maximum of, let's say, 1 or 2 attendees, and then those two they take it already, so there is no more availability for that block, or simply because the tutor is going to be working for another center, or is going to be because the date is going to be declared by off time, either by the center or by the school. So if you have any questions about schedules, about the calendar configuration, please be my guest, and you can type it in the chat or you can mute yourself. And thank you so much.